Yo, so I got four of my wisdom teeth removed all in one procedure. This was last week, March 6th, and today is March 16th at midnight. So technically 10 days. And overall, it was a pretty good experience. I remember literally everything from the time I like woke up from the anesthesia and anesthetics, however you say that. Um, and I, I'm not sure what to talk about in what order. But it was a pretty good experience. I finished all my uh, antibiotics, and they also prescribed some painkillers, but I didn't take the painkillers. Um, I feel like I didn't. There was like zero pain after uh, I got it removed. It was just I. The only thing I was worried about was like the stitches opening or like the wound reopening. So I was just really careful with that, with like eating and all that stuff. But otherwise, there was zero pain. Uh, the second day, I had like a little bit of swelling on like this side. I also got a mucocil removed on this lip right here. And they went to get it biopsied, and they said it was benign. They called me today actually, and they said it was benign. So that's good, I guess. But there was also a little bit of swelling here in that area when I got that removed in the same procedure. But aside from that, there was zero pain. The swelling didn't bother me that much because it was very small and I don't really look at my face. So, regardless of that, uh, that's that. But the memory part was really cool because, would you call it cool? Um, I talked to my friends who had their wisdom teeth removed before, and a lot of them were talking about how it was like they remember like this one part, this one other part, this other part, and then like that's it, and then like everything in between that to them is kind of like a blur or like they don't remember. But when I woke up, I like remembered everything, and I was like I was conscious of like basically everything that I was doing, and it was a pretty interesting experience. So basically, so when I got in, it was around like when I got in, it was a little earlier than 8:30, but when I sat down and then I finished signing all the consent forms and all that stuff, I was asking the assistant uh, how long it takes to get the wisdom teeth removed, and she said it was 30 to 35 minutes typically. So I was like, okay, cool. So I guess when I wake up, I'll like see that's 30 minutes past or something like that. Um, but the guy came in, the anesthesiologist, he came in, and then he uh, did it on this wrist right here. I have photos of it, but I'm too lazy to edit. But right here, it had like a pool of like I guess blood that came out or something like that. Um, it's nothing bad, but uh, it was just a little like I don't know what you call it, but it was a big issue. Anyways, when he stuck the needle into me, he was just talking about. He was like, "Yeah, I'm your anesthesiologist. I'm gonna make sure you like whatever." This was general anesthetics, by the way, or general, however you say it. But it was general anesthetics, so I went to sleep for the entire process. Um, but when I looked, there was a computer screen to my left, and I looked at the computer screen, and it was like 8:30 ish, like 8:20, like eight approximately. And then I like basically laid back like this, and then like the vial of whatever was going into me was like on my stomach. Um, I never saw I never saw my surgeon at all. I only saw him like the like month before when he was like consulting me. Um, but I never saw him, and I'll talk about that later. But I went under, right, and then when I woke up, or when I was in the process of waking up, uh, the assistant there were like three assistants there, but the assistant that like made me sign the consent forms, she was telling me to keep your eyes open. So I was like laying down like this, and I was like waking up, and as soon as I woke up, so I was dreaming, um, right, and it was like uh you guys probably don't care about the dream. Um, but I'm just saying this to say what my dream was. But the dream was like very pixelated, um, and it was like orange. It was, if you ever played Osumania, right? Osumania is like where the like keys come down and like you play, you like tap with your hands or whatever. Um, it's like Union Syndrome. Have you ever played that? Game that just came out a couple of weeks ago, but that's besides the point. It was basically I was dreaming that like these orange cubes were falling down, and I was like had to like it wasn't I the objective wasn't to like hit all of them, but how like in my brain it was kind of what I was trying to do. But as soon as I woke up, I like started doing this. Like I was like typing on the keyboard essentially, um, and this is all like while I'm like waking up from the effects of the anesthetics, right? But I was basically doing this the entire time. I was like typing, and I remember like still doing the motion, and I was like, oh, I was waking up, and the person was like, keep your eyes open, keep your eyes open, and I was opening my eyes, and I was like, I do not want to keep my eyes open right now. I'm gonna lay back again, and then like I she was like keep your eyes open, and open your eyes, and I was like, oh, I was having a like hard time opening my eyes because I just wanted to go back to sleep. Um, but but eventually, I was like, okay, I gotta wake up. So I opened my eyes all the way, and it was like really blurry initially. It's like a freaking game. You like wake up, and then you're like, and it's like Skyrim or whatever, where it's like black, and then boom, it's like, oh, you're finally awake, right? It's kind of like that. Um, dang, there was something I was gonna say, but I completely forgot. Oh, I remember. The immediate feeling I had when I woke up, I was like, this feels like what it would feel like if Black Mirror were real. Um, I don't know if that makes sense. Like the cookie things or whatever, right? Like basically when I woke up, it wasn't like a thought process, but it was like uh, that's how you feel, like the feeling beamed into you, if that makes sense, right? Like it wasn't like I was thinking about this, but but when I look back and think on those memories, that those immediate like feelings I had, it was basically like uh, if the Black Mirror technology ever becomes real, and people like put this on, and then like they beam themselves into like extremely happy like digital reality or something, and then they wake up, uh, and maybe that's what it would feel like. That's what like I felt like, I guess. Um, I was like, dang, this is like it, this is like probably the closest I will feel to like having Black Mirror technology until I guess we actually get Black Mirror technology. Um, but that but that was the immediate feeling I had when I was like waking up. Um, so anyways, I woke up, and then I was basically like I was I was extremely conscious. Um, but as a person, I am not really talkative at all. Uh, like I tend to be really quiet in like a social setting and stuff like that. But I guess the effects of the anesthetics or whatever, they were making me like I was just sorry, I can't think. Um, I was asking a lot of questions. So there were two other assistants on my right side, and then they came up to me, and I guess they were taking like cuffs off of me or something like that. Um, and then I like turned to them, and I'm like, I was trying to be funny. I was like, is it, is it? So, so I'm waking up right now. Maybe I'll say something funny. Maybe I won't. But every time, every time other people wake up, are they entertaining? Are they funny? Um, and then they were like, yeah, it's funny or whatever. Um, and I was basically like, okay, cool. Hopefully, I'm able to be funny for you guys or whatever. But they weren't there for that long, to be honest. But I was basically asking them like, uh, the other thing I was asking them, uh, was I forget the exact wording, but I was like, how long have you guys been doing this or whatever? It's like several years or something. And then I was like, so every single day or whatever, every single time you do this and then wake up, it's still funny. And they're like, yep, it's still funny or whatever. And I was like, okay, um, that's cool, I guess. Um, and so that was really the only interaction with them. The other thing was when after I like stopped, I forget when exactly I stopped like typing with my hands. But after I stopped doing that, I like checked my hands. I was like, well, I got all five fingers or whatever. I'm conscious or whatever. But I just remember the feeling of wanting to ask questions. I was like, if I was a test subject right now and I was under the effects of like a drug, I mean, I guess anesthetics, I guess like all that stuff are drugs. They're considered like classified as drugs. Um, but I was like, if I was a like test subject under the effects of like something, um, then I would be like asking them a bunch of questions. And I was like, I want them to ask me questions, and but they weren't asking me questions, so I started asking them questions. Um, I was asking them about my wisdom teeth. I was like, can I keep any of them? And they're like, nope. And I was like, oh, what? Did they all get ruined or whatever? Because I was talking to the assistant that made me sign all the contracts or whatever, the consent forms, and I was asking if I can keep them, and she says that I can keep them if they're in one piece or something like that. Um, but I guess all my teeth were not in one piece at the end of the day, so rest in peace, those teeth. Uh, but yeah, I did not get to keep any of my wisdom teeth, unfortunately. Um, what else? There was a lot. I should have done like a video recording of the immediate things I remembered, because now this is just me like losing my memory over a couple days. Freaking poor memory. Um, but basically, I'm trying to remember. So I talked about two people over here. Oh, I was thanking them a lot because I noticed I didn't see the oral surgeon and I didn't see uh, the anesthesiologist. I only saw the like three assistants there. Um, so I wanted to make sure to like thank them. So I was like, all right, I was like, make sure to thank the oral surgeon and make sure to thank the anesthesiologist and make sure to thank everybody else or whatever. Um, and I like over the course of like the entire 10 minutes, 5 minutes there, uh, I was like making sure to like thank them, and telling them to like send my regards, essentially. Uh, the the other thing was, I don't. I guess this is like a precaution thing. Um, but they were telling me like things I needed to do and things I did not need to do. Um, but I feel like if most people like forget like their immediate like couple minutes of those like waking hours of like from wisdom tooth surgery, uh, I wonder like why they were telling me that. I'm guessing it was just because like it's like a medical like thing or whatever. Um, but they were telling me all this stuff, and then one of the things they were saying was like no working out, or no like heavy lifting, like no heavy lifting of heavy objects, and no like having your head underneath your like heart or something like that. Um, and I was like, no heavy lifting. Does that mean I can't work out? And I guess at this point I have like the gauze in my mouth, obviously, and it's pretty interesting. It's pretty cool that like I mean I guess they've been doing this for a long time, so they can like uh, understand what people are trying to say, but they didn't understand when I was asking them. So no working out. Um, so so I was like, so I said it like twice or something. So no working out, and then the people were like, "What's he saying?" And I was like, "No working out, no work." So I started like doing I started like flexing like this and just like pointing like, "No working out," um, and so the blood pressure monitor cuff was also on his right arm. So I don't know. I had some like minor I wouldn't call it pain, but like I guess like pain, like after you like work out, after you work out a bunch, um, and then like you feel like the soreness. I guess soreness, not pain, but like soreness. Um, and I don't know whether that was from the like the blood pressure cuff or whether like I was like doing this too hard when I was like waking up or whatever. Uh, but yeah, I was like no no working out, and then they were like no working out, and I was like no 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 not even push ups, and they're like not even push ups, and I was like bro, I gotta work out, freaking gotta lose the gains or whatever. I'm a little scrawny though. You can see my tiny wrist, but work out every day, be fit. Anyways, that's the size of the point. Um, when they helped me into the wheelchair, I heard like the conversation outside in the lounge. Uh, my dad was the one that was like driving me, um, and he does not speak English, so I typically help him with all the like English stuff and stuff like that. Um, but I like heard them. He was like they were like talking about how like he didn't understand like to sign and all that stuff and all the other like things to do. So like I heard them and I was like I can translate, I can translate. Um, and then the guys look at me and they're like, "You can translate? You sure?" I was like, "Yeah, I can translate." So I went out and then I looked at the clip of paper and then I like was like they were like explaining to me that my dad needed to like sign me off and all that stuff. So I told him to sign, uh, and then they wheeled me out. Um, and then at the car, my like they open the door and I get into the seat, and then uh, and then the assistant is like has like the piece of paper. I'm sure I have the piece of paper down there somewhere, but she like wrote a bunch of things and then she was like, "Do you want me to clarify anything? Or is there anything that like needs to be clarified or whatever?" And I forgot like what I wanted clarified exactly, but I asked her to clarify something and to write it down because I probably will forget. Um, and she wrote it down on that piece of paper somewhere, but it doesn't matter that much, to be honest. Um, so she wrote that down, and then I got in, and then we fucking started driving home. Um, and on the drive home, I basically went quiet because I kind of want to like relax, I guess. Um, I didn't really talk to my dad. My dad was just kind of driving. He was being chilling, and I didn't want to be annoying to him since he was driving. Uh, but I remember I was like checking my hands. I was like, there's this thing like I do. So I've only like drank alcohol. Can I talk about this YouTube? Rest in peace. Um, like maybe 5 or 6 times in my life, something like that. I can count the amount of times on my hand, how many times I've drank. Um, and every time, never drink and drive. I don't drink and drive. But every time I drink, I like, there was a certain time where I was like, no, I definitely can't drive. um, like just basically like simulating it. Um, and so when I was like, I don't know what you call it. Is it loopy or whatever? When I was like coming out of the effects of the anesthetics. Um, uh, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that word, by the way. I never said that word in my life. Uh, but when I was in the car, I was basically shadowing my dad. I was like pretending to drive in the passenger seat, and I was like, yeah, my reaction speed is like really slow right now. And it's probably like 6 seconds slow or something like that. I could not drive right now. Um, sorry, I was just thinking because I'm like envisioning what was happening in the past, and I'm just like driving, or I'm just basically I'm like doing this the entire time, and then like using my feet to like brake and whatever. Uh, I had to type I had to like type our home address into like my dad's phone because he doesn't know how to use maps either. So there's that. Um, but I was doing that, had to type that, and then there were several. I remember there were several occasions where my dad like was going to miss a turn, so I like had to like be like, "Yo, take this turn or whatever," because I was watching like the Apple Maps or whatever it was. Apple, I think it was Apple Maps. Um, and then we got home. There was not anything like particularly interesting after that, but I basically like remembered like from the time I woke up all the way to home, and then I remembered the stuff at home, but there was nothing interesting at home aside from like me keeping the gauze in my mouth. So I never took so the mouth in my gauze or the gauze in my mouth. I kept it there for I'm not sure how long, but from the drive home, I think it was like 25 minutes minimum. And then the amount of time spent in the office, maybe like 10 minutes, maybe like five, 5 or 10 minutes. I couldn't tell you how much time passed during that. Oh, I completely forgot. When I went under, it was 8:30, and then when I woke up, it was 9:30. Um, and then I looked at the computer, and I was like, "The heck is 9:30?" That was like a whole hour. They said it like typically takes 30 minutes or whatever, but I guess that's typically. So there was probably I don't know if you would call it complications or it was more difficult or something like that, taking out my teeth. But it was 9:30, and then I was like, okay, well I guess it took an hour to go through all that. Um, so there's that, and what was I talking about? Oh, spent like 5-10 minutes like from the chair going out, and then that. So that was like 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and then I think I kept the gauze in my mouth for like at least another 30 minutes to 1 hour. Um, like when I got home, and then when I took them out, I never put any other gauze back in. So because to be honest, the instructions were kind of like sparse in my opinion. Like they didn't. I've been using these the like what's that called, the wisdom tooth like water syringe to like expel like waste out of there when I like you eat. But they didn't tell me like they didn't advise me or tell me to do that. Maybe that's just like their practice. Um, but I was looking up like information regarding like wisdom tooth care, wisdom tooth post care or post op. Is that what they call it? Um, and they didn't tell me about the wisdom teeth thing or water thing. I feel like there were several other things they didn't tell me about that I saw mentioned often on the internet. But uh, yeah, so I took it out, and then I remember people talking about like blood clots and dry socket and all that stuff. So I was trying to avoid that. Um, I saw that like you had to like wet gauze and then like put the wet gauze in and not like dry gauze in. But I just basically I like let the gauze that was already in my mouth be there for a while, and then I just took it out. Uh, and then I never put in any other gauze in afterwards because the bleeding was very minimal, to be honest. Um, but that was that. I took the gauze out, and I took all my antibiotics over the course of was it 3 days. Um, can't think of what else. It's basically like regular post op stuff. Um, I think it's called kongi. Is that what it's called? Rice porridge. I'm not sure what the like English equivalent is, but like rice porridge, right? Kongi. Uh, but I ate that for I think 3 days. So for lunch and dinner, and then I ate some yogurt for snacks. Uh, and I drank like yogurt milk or whatever that thing's called. I don't know what that's called, but I just drank like yogurt milk. Um, because I think you're not supposed to drink like carbonated beverages and that kind of stuff uh, after your wisdom teeth were removed. But I did that. Uh, not soda, the milk yogurt, and then the rice congee, rice porridge, whatever you call it, the rice porridge, um, for 3 days, and I basically was just like put it in my mouth and then swallowed. I like did not chew or anything. I just put it in my mouth and swallowed. Um, because so I'm not gonna show you. It's gonna be a little disgusting looking at the inside of my lips, but right here was where like I had the mucosil. So every time like I was moving my mouth like this, like I could like feel the like stitching and like all that stuff. Uh, um, so basically ate like that, and then on Friday, no, not on Friday, on the fourth day, I mean, on the fourth day, I started eating like real food again. Wait, was it the fourth or the third? I forget. I'm sure I have like photos. I take photos of my food every day to like remember what I eat. Um, I'm sure I could figure that out, but you guys probably don't care. Um, but on the fourth day, I started eating real food, but I still was not chewing with back here because I was still like worried. I didn't know like how careful I should have been or needed to be, but I think I'm fine now because it's like 10 days in. Um, on the fourth day, I didn't chew with these. I basically uh, pre-cut all my like meat and stuff like that. To be honest, when I started eating this, I like felt like I could just like start chewing like normal. Um, but I didn't do that because I was worried about all that stuff they talk about on the internet, anyways. Um, just like as a precaution. But I was like chopping up all my meat, and then wouldn't even like chew it. I would just put it in my mouth and I would swallow it like whole. Probably really bad for your digestion. But I didn't have I guess too much information maybe, but I didn't have issues with my digestion personally. Um, but like I I don't know why I said but. I'm just saying like but as in like if a random person is watching this, you probably should uh like because the like for effective digestion you need like more surface area to like affect the like food. I believe that's how it works, at least like from what I remember. Um, and so like by the process of chewing, you break up the pieces, and each piece is like a small piece. So there's like a larger amount of surface area covering the bits of food. But when you have like for example, if you have like a steak or something like that, like a cube steak, then the digestion only like is able to act on the surface. I mean, obviously like I'll get in and stuff like that, but like the surface is uh, a lot less compared to like if that cube was cut up into like even more cubes or whatever shape comes out from chewing. Um, but I guess that's besides the point. The fourth day was when I started eating real food, and I just swallowed. And I did that for like uh, I couldn't tell you the timeline. Like, and I think basically like it's been like 3 or 4 days since I started chewing with my mouth. Oh, excuse me, using the like back of my teeth, and I'm like been eating normal food again. Uh, and I guess the only thing now is I just need to wash out the like sockets uh, of food. Um, I think that's pretty much it. Pretty good experience overall. Uh, when my oral surgeon was like talking to me about it, I forget the exact numbers, but he was saying like like obviously when you're younger, when you would get your wisdom tooth taken out, the bone structure and like whatchamacallit is able to like grow back faster or whatever, like repair faster. But since I'm 26 years old, it's gonna take longer than had I done it like 10 years ago or like not 8 years ago, right? Um, but it's a lot better than doing it when I'm like 36, right? As opposed to 36 then 26. Um, but it's out, so we're good now. So my bottom two teeth, uh, this one was directly impacting this teeth, and then this teeth right here was like at an angle upwards, and then these two upper wisdom teeth were fine. They were like the normal teeth orientation. Um, but my dentist was saying that like at 26, my like the teeth shape is expected to like be the same and not move anymore from there. Um, so like in general, it shouldn't be an issue if I like didn't get my wisdom teeth removed. But when I went to the oral surgeon, he was basically saying like it's only a matter of like when uh, you will get an infection or whatever because it's like underneath the gums and all that stuff. And obviously, consult your uh, doctor. This is not doctor advice or anything like that. I don't know if I need to preface that in the beginning. Rest in peace if I do. Um, but basically, the what was I talking about? Holy crap, boomer memory. I need to go sleep too. It's almost 1 a.m. I keep doing these at like midnight. Something about my oral surgeon was saying that it was only like a matter of time before like uh it's not like if but when will your like wisdom tooth be infected or whatever, and it's gonna be like even more of a pain to get them out in the future. Um, so he advised me taking them all out, and so I got them all out. But I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I'll say what like I was thinking when I saw the images. But I'm not a doctor, so my opinion is like literally not valid. But when I saw the X-ray of like my wisdom teeth, they seem pretty low below the gum line, like pretty like deep in. So I was wondering like how they would get infected with like how deep they are in, because it didn't look like um, there was a way for food or like anything to like get into there. But I mean, again, I'm not a doctor, and he advised for me to take them out, and I obviously got them taken out. So there's that. But it was just like a random thought I had. I probably am wrong, but I think that's pretty much it. I am fortunate to have a pretty good post-op experience, um, to be honest. And fortunately, there were no complications or anything like that. I think that's pretty much it. I'm happy to be eating normal food again, but honestly, uh, I've told my friends this a lot when I was in college. Uh, in college, it was especially like a pain to eat because it was like had to like study, had to like do all this, had to like go to classes, attend, and then like do club activities and do everything else. And so when I was eating, uh, I felt like eating was such a chore, and the dining hall food was not that great. Um, so I was like, there was a point in time in college where I was like, dude, if you could just make like a ball of goop, um, and have it have all the nutrients I needed, and it could taste extremely bland, I would eat this like every day, so I could cut down on like lunch and dinner time. Um, and I do enjoy eating now, um, but I was basically thinking like with post op, I see a lot of people talk online about how there's like X amount of days, and then they're like becoming like insane from not eating like normal food and stuff like that. Um, it was fine. I mean, it's I don't have a refined palate by any means. So I kind of can just, you can feed me anything and I will eat it. Uh, there are some food stories that I have. Maybe I'll talk about them in a different video. But there's one last thing I was gonna talk about that since I was talking about all this, but I cannot think about it. Um, I think that's pretty much it. It's 12:54 a.m. Gotta sleep. Uh, Dang it! What was I talking about? It was something. It was going to be something interesting, but I guess it wasn't interesting enough because I forgot. Uh, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Get your wisdom teeth removed. Uh, I'm now gate kept from being wise, I guess. Sorry, I'm not funny. Good night.